Hello everybody, this is Tim again. This is going to be a video response to Andrew Wood. It's a WoodWWAD, and he asked the question, what kind of player are you? Now I've already talked a little bit about this in two previous videos. I'm going to put links down below. The first one was I promulgate chaos as an RPG player, and pretty much I go through and I talk about how I tend to like chaotic actions as a character when I'm in a game. And the other video was player skills and GM skills, where I talk about the difference between, just because you're a good GM doesn't mean you're a good player. And I talk a little bit in there about, just my style and play and all that good stuff. But I figured it'd be good to just have a new video and just talk about this, and it'll be a direct video response. So, what kind of player am I? I tend to be kind of a chaotic player. But I realize that about myself these days. So I've been trying to kind of go over what I'm thinking in my head before I actually do it, because I don't want to ruin the fun of other players. My playing style kind of depends on the group itself. If the GM is very low prep, rules light / rules medium, and they like taking player ideas and incorporating them into the story, then those GMs invite me to their games. They like me in their games. They like that I push the plot and story and NPCs in different ways. And I also tend to motivate players around me to roleplay, get in character, and generally just seem to have a better time in those kind of games. At the same time, if the GM is very high prep, rules medium to rules heavy, and they tend to make games with more railroad tracks in mind, the game is kind of linear, then I'm a giant exploding wrench in their gears. My play style and their GM style does not work well. If they have, months and months of time figured out for what's going to happen and how the players should react to certain things, I break those plots into pieces and they crumble, and it's not very good. But like I said, I'm kind of like in a 12-step recovery program when it comes to this kind of thing, because my instant reaction is to do zany off-the-wall things or things that I think are fun in the moment. I don't always think of the consequences, and in fact, a lot of times the consequences don't even bug me, because I had so much fun doing whatever it was that I'm willing to take whatever may come. For instance, I was in a Dark Heresy game. The same GM, he likes the way I play. We were trying to take out somebody. Our job was to assassinate somebody in like the undercity of some, big megapolis or whatever you want to call it, just big city. Down in the hive sort of thing, down in the deep areas of the city. And so this character that we were trying to kill he was traveling with this nun, and nuns are a little bit different in the 40K universe, but so his goal of having this guy traveling with a nun, I think, was so that we wouldn't kill him outright because she was there. And my character was a very, faithful believer in the Emperor. He was all about that. So what I did is we were driving a vehicle at the time, and my character's thought process was, she's a nun, she's going to get justly rewarded by the Emperor in the afterlife, I'm just going to run them all over. And that's what I did. It was kind of a shocking moment to some of the other players. The GM didn't see that one coming, and he asked me what was my character thinking, and I told him that's exactly what I was thinking. She was kind of an innocent bystander, but she's one that I thought was going to be okay afterwards. So, so be it. Hold on, I think my webcam's acting up. I'm going to stop and restart this. Sorry about that. So, like I said, my characters tend to have chaotic actions happen in the game, and things that really aren't a part of the overarching plot or even my character motivation. Sometimes I just do things because I think they're fun. So I've been trying to hold back. I've been trying to come up with character concepts that are less chaotic. And I mean, I won't lie, I tend to not have as much fun. That's the bottom line. But the game seemed to be more cohesive. The other players, I think, feel more of a burden to roleplay more because I'm not taking up most of the time, and I'm trying to basically help them out. Because a lot of times people who have played with me would be like, well, aren't you going to do, what are you going to do? Because we're kind of here to see what you're going to do. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do this thing because that's what my character would do. And because I had played because I had made a character that was less chaotic, they found that they would have to do things to change and motivate the story, or mix things up. And so the people I'm playing with right now are having a difficult time, I think, because they're so used to the way I play that it's actually challenging them to roleplay better. So in a lot of ways, I think it's a really good thing what I'm doing. Hopefully I'll continue to do it. I'm still going to do chaotic things from time to time, even when I'm restricting myself, just because sometimes I just can't help it. It's like that big shiny button that's on the thing that's flashing red. It's touch me, and sometimes I just give in. But that's kind of my style in general. I also love to do things in character that out of character I probably shouldn't want to do or do. I'm pretty much like, even if it's detrimental to the character, if the beliefs of the character point in that direction, I'm gonna do it. Even if like out of character, it's like, that's stupid. You're gonna have all these consequences because of this. I have no problem doing that. I have no problem suffering the consequences for things that my characters would definitely want to do and want to sacrifice to do. If the reward or the benefit of being damaging to my character, like to the rest of the group, or to someone we're trying to rescue, or whatever the plot is for that particular adventure, I don't have a problem doing that. Like that with the mine, there was a situation where I strapped mines to myself to go blow up a bunch of aliens that were attacking us, and my characters thought, I'm going to save the rest of my group. And to be honest, I was thinking about some family history of mine where my dad's cousin was a Green Beret, and he jumped on a grenade in I think it was a foxhole, and he basically blew himself up to save the rest of his fellow troops, his fellow soldiers. And he saved their lives because he was willing to risk himself and to basically absorb the blow of the grenade. So that's what I was thinking when I was writing down the thing, the self-sacrifice. And I love when characters die for a purpose. If there's some purpose that could come out of it, I definitely like that idea. It's kind of story-esque, like, oh, well, I'll stop them, you guys get away, that sort of thing. And I know it might be kind of cliche or cheesy, but I really enjoy those sorts of moments in RPGs, where it comes down to, okay, overwhelming odds, we need to run away. Can we make any sort of, benefit to help us get away better, or, do anything that will just help out the group at large. So I talked a little bit about the compatibility issues you were talking about, where I tend to be a better player for GMs that are willing to really take the story in the direction that the story wants to go, and not the direction that they want the story to go. Kind of like RPGs aren't a story. They're not a novel where it goes from point A to point Z in an order that's figured out. Yes, there are some twists and turns, but the author knows when they're coming, what's going to happen. In RPGs, it shouldn't be all about the story that the GM wants. The players should really have impact on which way the story goes, how things change, and consequences for their actions. And sometimes I think it's the consequences that make the most fun, because no matter what you do, if you're risky, or if you decide to go drinking the night before, and the night before battle, and you have a hangover the next battle, that's a consequence. You're on the battlefield and you got a huge pounding headache and people are trying to cut your head off, it's gonna kind of suck. But Yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So compatibility issues, I talked a little bit about that, and like I said, I'm trying to be a better player. Like I'm really trying to hold back my chaotic nature as a player. Um, but it's kind of funny. Some of those GMs that like that have been they're kind of like the guy who's in Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's me. Like I'm going to this 12-step thing, and then I have my friends are like, hey man, you want some whiskey? Hey man, here's some beer here, and it's like they're trying to lure me back to the dark side or something, or the chaos side or whatever you want to call it. So it's kind of funny. So I think I have to determine when to let out the chaotic beast and when to try to keep it on a leash in a cage in the recesses of the back of my head, Another question that Andrew asked, what I want out of the game. I really want probably two things. I want to be immersed in the character, and I like to just step away from my own life and that whole escapism thing and take on the aspects and personality and traits of a character. Doesn't really matter what happens in the game itself, as long as I can think what would my character want to do in this situation? How would they react? Those kind of ideas totally take me away from all of life's miseries and all of all the trauma and all that bad shit that's in real life. And for a little while, I can pretend to be somebody else with different problems. And as I like to say, different problems are good things sometimes. Having the same old crap day in and day out, it's nice to have something that's different bad. Different bad can be a good thing. So I think that's mainly it. Is like I love to immerse myself in the character. I'll like Meta Rockwell. I will role play during battles, even if no one really responds to it, or if the GM doesn't seem to care, or if all the other players are like, well, okay, that's fine that you're talking and all, but what move are you going to make and what combat move are you going to use, or whatever whatever kind of system I'm using. They seem to be more concerned about like the damage and the weapons and things, and I tend to try to bring more in, fears and thoughts. I've come up with my own fantasy curse words like flarg, like what the flarg are you doing, things like that. I'll try to incorporate those and things, like battle cries and taunting people and things like that. I try to elicit a reaction, and even if there is no reaction, it makes it enjoyable for myself. So I've also found, well, hold on. Another reason I want to play is just to have fun, and I think the immersion and the escapism is first, and the fun is second. But fun for me is very high up there on the list. Crap. Now what was I gonna say? Oh man, I totally forgot. Okay. How I like to interact. I like to interact with role playing. I like to. I try not to do like the out of character metagaming type stuff. There is a tendency to want to do that, don't get me wrong, but I try not to. I've noticed in some games that it'll get ridiculous, like, well, especially in games that have different sorts of consequences for different moves and such on the battle mat. I've seen players, well, you don't want to move there, you want to move here, 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 and then do this. And then it's like, okay, I understand why you're doing that, but it totally just takes me out of things. And if his character wants to move this way, then why should you be telling him he shouldn't move that way? He'll learn eventually. Something like that. That's a different topic, I guess. So I like to interact with role playing. I like when GMs set up times when there is no combat, there is no danger. Like I think Andrew said about sitting around a campfire and just talking and interacting that way. I think there's kind of a lack of those in role-playing games, in sessions, whatever you want to call them, where it's like downtime, but it's character time, where the interactions and the connectivity of the different characters should shine. You know, the background of the character. Those are excellent times to talk about all those NPCs that you created, like your family and friends, or, you know, ex-explorers or whatever that you used to travel with, ex-adventurers, people that have died along the way. You really could have a lot of good interaction there. But I've also found that there's some players that don't like that at all. They don't like to talk in character. They don't like to roleplay as much. They like just the danger, just the monsters. And I mean, even myself as a GM, I think I've fallen prey to not giving enough downtime with the spotlight on it. You know, basically the time that you would fast forward through with like the GM, you know, fast forward button. Sometimes it's good not to fast forward. You need breaks between the action. You know, a little bit of ebb and flow there. You know, excitement and then downtime, excitement and then downtime. And I think that needs to be in there more. But I'm getting away, trying to talk about other stuff. Kind of characters I like to play. I like to play kind of exotic ideas, strange combinations, things that are more interesting to roleplay. Generally things that are less like myself. I try to challenge myself, like for instance in the Savage Worlds Fallout game based off the video game, post-apocalyptic setting. I'm trying to play a female character, and I'm actually having some problems with it. I'm having a hard time with like body language and things like that. The Narrabin had a video that was pretty good about role-playing with female characters, and I used some of those techniques, and that seemed to help a little bit. So that was cool. So I like to role-play things that are a challenge to me, something that I haven't done before. Yes, I have some standard things, like if we're playing fantasy and it's traditional fantasy, I'll tend to gravitate towards dwarven characters, just like the dwarves, I don't know. But I guess it depends on what kind of, I don't know, for instance, in Firefly and Serenity, for some reason, I usually like to play the doctor character. I don't really know why. I think it's just because I don't mind, for some reason in the Firefly and Serenity game, I don't mind being the character that stays back on the ship, or I don't mind being the character that's the support character and letting the other character shine a little bit. I think that might have something to do with me trying to be restrained and try to hold myself back, and that's a good restrained role to try to role play out. And I've actually been having a lot of fun with that. I played two characters. One was in a one-shot where I was a doctor that didn't believe in hygiene. And none of the characters actually wanted me to heal them. That was kind of funny. So even when they needed me to heal them, you know, they were kind of grimacing like, "Oh, you haven't," like before I'd have surgery, you know, all right, let's get this surgery on, you know. So that was pretty interesting. And then the other one, I was a fairly standard doctor character. There was a few moments where I did some pretty crazy off-the-wall things, but for the most part, I tried playing a reserve character. So that's generally it. I just like to try to play exotic things, different things, new combinations, new races, things that are more difficult to roleplay or a challenge. How do I get fun out of a game? I'll find that if the game becomes boring, if it seems maybe like the GM is kind of having one of those moments when they're having a hard time coming up with things, I think that's really what started me trying to do off-the-wall zany things to make it fun, to make it interesting. So I think at first I wanted to be like the GM's helper, where if the game was stagnating, I would be kind of like someone lighting an M80 and throwing it into like a pool of gasoline just to kind of start things off, you know, something like that, where it would break people out of the, you know, sitting down, yawning, you know, maybe fiddling with the pencil on the table, and just kind of, you know, put some energy back into things. And I think along the way I got too far and I became something I wasn't really, I don't know, I didn't really enjoy. I started seeing myself as a problem player. Some people say I wasn't, but I think it really comes down to how I interact with the GM and the other players and what kind of personality and or style they have. So, I don't know. I'm trying to fit in better. We'll see. And a general comment about Ander talking about wanting the community to get along better or to interact better or have some more conformity. I don't think those are the words he actually used, but I have an interesting take on that, I think. I think when it's top down, when someone tries to organize things, I think it actually doesn't work out very well. I kind of like the bottom-up approach, where we're all doing our own thing, but we're also commenting on each other's videos. I always try to comment on people's videos, especially if it's something that's interesting, or if I have a different take or a different opinion on something. So you'll probably see me, you know, if you go to another person's channel and look around on their videos, I'm sure Samurai 7 RPG at some point has commented on one of their videos if I know they exist. I'm sure there's some RPG channels out there that I don't know exist, but if I see people that are new to the community or I see videos for them, I'll try to subscribe to them. If they have like one RPG video and a bunch of non-RPG videos, I tend not to subscribe to them, just because I don't want to, you know, have a ton of junk to look through to find what I'm actually interested in. Like I've gotten to the point where I've actually gotten rid of some of my subscriptions that weren't RPG related, just because there's so many RPG videos that I have a hard time watching them all. I at one point was watching Let's Play videos, and I just don't seem to have the time right now. I have to, like, the RPG videos have filtered to the top, floated to the top, and those are the ones that I can watch the most right now. But as far as organization and all that, if I can reply to videos, I will. If someone wants to post videos, that's fine. With a lot of my videos, I'll tend to ask questions in the videos, and feel free to, if you ever want to make a video response to any of my stuff, I generally don't have a problem with that. If it has nothing to do with the video or nothing to do with RPGs, I'm definitely going to turn it down. But I think most people that come to my channel like RPGs, and so far I've had fairly little spam. Every once in a while I'll get these messages that have nothing to do with RPGs, and I can tell they're spam, but for the most part it's pretty good. But generally, as a player, I hope I kind of answered those questions. Like I said, there's 2 previous videos I did below that I'll put links for. Hopefully I answered that correctly. I feel like I'm rambling and not very focused this morning, but I think that's pretty much it. All right, everybody. I'll talk to you guys later.